This is CES MMA.
Take a look here at the tail of the tape. Maldonado making his pro debut coming out of Latham, New York. He weighed in at 126 yesterday. Dan Cormier, 1-3, fighting out of Triforce. He tipped the scales at 123 pounds. Let's send it down to Rick Provost for the official introduction.
This fight is scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds in the flyweight division. Your referee is Todd Anderson. Fighting out of the red corner, weighing in at 123 pounds, with a professional record of 4 fights, representing Triforce MMA out of Providence, Rhode Island. Please welcome Dan Cormier. His opponent, and fighting out of the blue corner, weighing in at 126 pounds, making his professional debut, and representing Team Renzo Gracie. He fights out of Latham, New York. Please welcome MARVIN Maldonado. 3 rounds, flyweights.
Well, Maldonado certainly travels well. You heard an eruption in the upper $55 section when his name was announced.
And it was nice to actually hear. I didn't realize it, but through the announcements that he's a Renzo Gracie guy, so obviously the ground game's going to be solid.
And let's see if Cormier has worked on that defense. As we noted, he has been choked out by a rear naked choke in his last 2 fights, both losses. Round number 1 underway.
You can see Maldonado coming out in the southpaw stance.
Maldonado in the black trunks, Cormier in the gray.
Are those trunks for real?
If you want to call them trunks,
I don't.
more or less tights.
And you'd never see me do that. Mainly because
see you sport a pair of those in your next fight.
I can't pull that off.
I have
the legs for it. I just don't have the rest of the body to go with it.
Round number 1 of 3 in the flyweight division.
Now you'll see both fighters here jockeying for outside foot position. As you're well aware, Mike, you're fighting a southpaw. You want to get your foot outside his, and vice versa for the southpaw, your lead foot.
Maldonado goes upstairs. Cormier responds with the rear leg kick.
What I like to see, nice Superman punch from Maldonado.
Quick little exchange, and both fighters back out. Now back toward the center of the cage again.
Maldonado's a taller fighter, so those rear legs, those long legs are going to be able to keep Dan off a little bit. The lefties, I love to watch lefties throw body kicks because you can land that rear leg right to the liver with great enthusiasm.
I think Maldonado might have been generous on his height. Certainly looks taller than 5'4", at least from this angle.
Well, being vertically challenged myself, I won't shortchange the young man.
Perhaps a little gamesmanship on his part.
Well, now you see Dan change to southpaw, and now he's working back again. Both fighters still kind of feeling each other out.
Very cautious here in round number 1, unlike James Murren in the last fight, who just came out swinging.
Yeah, and to James's credit, that last fight, he just felt really confident, and that comes from, being real good. You got Dan coming off the last couple of, losses, so he might be a little tentative, don't want to make a mistake, want to do well. But when you got 2 guys making their pro debut like we did in the last fight, throw everything out the window.
That anxious, nervous energy puts itself on display once that bell rings. And like you said, Cormier has lost his last 2 bouts and perhaps maybe a bit cautious here.
Nice shot in by Maldonado. He set it up very well off his hands.
That left hand set it up, and then he shot in like you said.
Nice tight elbow by Dan.
Nice work on the inside by Cormier. Back to the center of the cage. 2.5 to go in round number 1. We're halfway through.
Nice little short right hook by Maldonado.
And Maldonado caught him on the way in.
Big overhand left by Maldonado. Big right hand by Dan Cormier. Now he tries to double that up, just like his corner asked him to.
Maldonado trying another Superman punch. We saw him open the round with one.
If you land it, you might as well keep throwing it. There's that. Whoa.
I think they pulled the trigger a little too soon here.
We have a huge problem here.
These are 5-minute rounds,
These
not
are
3.
5-minute rounds.
Just an inadvertent mistake by the timekeeper, but they will resume. So there are 2 minutes to go in this round. And of course, 5 minutes from here on out for the rest of the night.
We hope so.
All right, action resumes in round 1. Maldonado, Cormier in the center of the cage, where they've spent most of this opening round. Again, still trying to feel each other out. Nobody taking any big chances yet.
Kind of tough when that bell rang. The tempo was picking up. Both fighters were exchanging. And with that lull, with that little bit of, what the hell was that?
I think when they heard the 10-second mark, they assumed it was the end of the round and started to let it loose a bit.
Maybe you're correct, but if you're in there and you're a pro fighter, you know it's way too early. You can feel it. You know it's not the 5-minute mark.
I was going to ask you that. Can you feel that even if you're
absolutely
lost in the moment of fighting?
Without a doubt. You know it hasn't been that long. There's certain things you know not to do. You know you're not going to headbutt. You don't intentionally kick to the ground. Those little things you know you're not going to do. You're conscious of them.
Good takedown here by Cormier, now trying to establish some momentum as we get into the final minute of round number 1.
Those are very thudding body punches by Dan.
You can hear him from
again
side.
The difference between the pros and the amateurs. Like you spoke about earlier, Mike, the guys weren't working the body.
The intuition to know when to work the body.
Yeah.
If you can't necessarily work upstairs.
Oh, that was a slip. That wasn't much more than that.
Maldonado tried to go upstairs, lost his footing. About 20 seconds to go in this opening round. Maldonado, Cormier. And that'll do it for round number 1 in the flyweight division. Dan Cormier, Marvin Maldonado. Not a ton of action in this opening round, Scott. A lot of jockeying for position more than anything else. Cormier had a nice takedown toward the end, and maybe that helps if the judges were somewhat indecisive about how the round might go. And again, we talk about when there are so many close rounds at this level, sometimes it's that one move toward the end that can make the difference and sway it one way or another.
No, you're 100% correct, sir.
And again, Cormier trying to snap that 2-fight losing streak here against the debuting Marvin Maldonado from Latham, New York.
It's got to be more than a minute.
I want to finish it with the kicks. The body kicks are good. And listen, every time he kicks you, you got to punch him in the face so he stops kicking you. But punch him in the face. If you're more active, you will win. Exactly. If you do less than him, you will lose your fight. This round, you have to do more. Second down.
All right, we're just about ready for round number 2 in this flyweight bout. Dan Cormier out of Providence, Rhode Island, facing Marvin Maldonado from Latham, New York. Maldonado in the black trunks. And Dan Cormier in the gray. And we'll see, Scott, after 1 round in the books, if the action starts to pick up here in round number 2. Cormier comes out with a quick left-right combo. Now Maldonado working with the leg kicks.
Now, if Dan did not have his arm in proper position right there, that's that liver or head like you just saw Maldonado again. So to his credit, good defensive posture right off the bat.
Yeah, he should have it up after that one. That kick by Maldonado left a red mark right under Cormier's right armpit.
Split the skin a little bit right there. Now, Maldonado kicked out a little bit lower. Here's your liver. Now, with the height disadvantage, you're going to see Dan needs to work a lot more to get inside. A lot of head movement, a lot of feints to get inside on him. Maldonado, to this point, he's done a great job of working and keeping his opponent at distance.
Needs to be a counter puncher, or a counter striker, if you will.
Correct, yeah. Now, Dan gets in deep and he goes to work. And you can see 3 knees in a row. He's really drilling the body, but he was only throwing just that right hand. I'd like to see him throw combinations.
That big right hand set it up, Scott.
Short left elbow by Cormier. Nice job in the clinch.
And he followed with those knees to drive Maldonado against the cage.
Now, what I got to tell you is I like the best is when he does get inside, when Dan finally does figure out the distance and get inside, he erupts. He goes off like a grenade. Excellent job.
You're right. He is tentative for a reason. When he sees that opening, he strikes quickly, doesn't waste any time, and he's not doing that at all here in round number 2, just going right at Maldonado.
And then he doesn't jump out. That looked like a short knee to the groin right there. But then he doesn't jump out. That's what I like. He goes in, he works very hard, throws the combinations, but he tries to stay tight. Big left elbow on the break. You know, he pays dearly for the real estate. He doesn't want to give it up. Nice combination by Maldonado. Doubled up that right hook.
Well, certainly, Scott, when you're a shorter opponent like Cormier, when you do get that opportunity to fight inside, you want to take advantage of it.
Once you get, like I said, once you clear that real estate, you do not want to give it back. Being a shorter fighter, but yet I like the counterpunch. If I can bring my guy into me, great. But if not, I got to do something to get in tight with him, not get hurt. Whether it's feints or good footwork.
Maldonado trying to drive those elbows to break Cormier's grip. Cormier trying to slam him, not quite. Maldonado had control with his hands on the way down, popped right back up. 2.5 to go in round number 2. The action definitely has picked up, Scott, in the second round.
Without a doubt. Maldonado doing a much better job in the clinch. Before, it looked like Dan Cormier really owned the clinch with strikes. Maldonado doing a nice job of trying to punch out now.
Now we're back to the center of the cage.
Now this is where Maldonado had the most effect in his striking by keeping him at distance. Dan's gonna, I'd like to see him put the brakes on and come forward. But Maldonado doing a great job of stalking his opponent.
You're right, if Maldonado keeps him at bay, it's his fight to win if Cormier gets inside.
Short right hand by Maldonado, stopped Dan cold. Nice return right hand by Dan, stops right. Maldonado cold. Nice rear leg by Maldonado, again to the body.
He has peppered the right side of Cormier's body. Look under his armpits and right below his chest.
I don't want to.
That's going to sting tomorrow morning. That's going to sting tonight.
That's stinging right now as we speak.
A minute to go in round number 2.
It'll hurt tomorrow. It's stinging right now. Now Maldonado is getting a little more confidence in his striking. He's landing that rear leg kick. Now that jab is starting to land. Nice left hook by Dan Cormier.
Just when you think it's shifting one way, Cormier comes back with a right or a left.
Phenomenal fight, teeter-totter fight here. Back and forth.
The action has been tremendous in the second round. 45 seconds to go. Cormier, Maldonado in the flyweight division.
I'd like to see Dan keep his left up a little bit higher. I don't know how, I think that was more of a feint on the takedown, just to let him know, hey, I might do that. He really didn't commit to it. Maldonado's trying very hard to land that jab. Short left hooks, but Cormier made it a point to get inside as quick as he could.
10 seconds to go. Cormier on the inside trying to do some work before that bell rings. And time does run out. Another a very action-packed round here. The pace picked up considerably. And a lot of credit for Cormier, or to Cormier rather, for being able to work his way inside.
Without a doubt.
And fight it at his pace when he wanted to.
Well, both guys were trying to, find a way to impose their game plan of their fighting on the other. And they did it in spurts, back and forth. And that's what made it such an exciting fight.
It's tough to say where this one is on the cards. Round 1 was so evenly matched.
To the second round.
Well, thank you for that.
I'm sorry.
Thanks for pointing that out.
I'm wearing my smart-ass pants tonight.
Now, if I ask you to score it, you won't be so happy.
I have to be honest with you. I won't be happy, but if I had to, I'd have it one round apiece. Nice job.
I would tend to agree.
This is where you see the knees, where Dan really worked to come inside. 2 knees. You're going to see a third and a fourth. Double right hand, short right hands here. He really did well to keep the pressure and keep the distance closed.
It's funny, he kept that left hand on Maldonado's forehead just to kind of press him against the cage while he struck with the right.
Some guys use that technique. I prefer to have both hands working, but it seemed to work for him in that exchange.
All right, round number 3 of this flyweight bout. Dan Cormier, Marvin Maldonado. This one's been good thus far. A lot of action in round number 2. We'll see what round 3 brings. It's anybody's fight. May very well be a round apiece. This one could be the decider.
Nice left, lead right hook by Maldonado. Both fighters exchanged low kicks. Maldonado is doing a nice job of keeping Dan at bay. What Dan needs to do is bring his feet with him. I think Dan just tweaked his left shoulder on that exchange.
We'll see how that affects his defense moving forward.
See, when Dan comes forward off these punches, he needs to bring his feet with him to close the distance. He's kind of leaving his rear foot behind when he throws a combination.
And again, like you pointed out, when Maldonado has that distance, he controls the fight.
Yes, when he's inside in his world, when he's fighting in a phone booth, as a fighter of his height should. Tough job, tough elbow right there when he get that foot caught.
Maldonado caught that left kick and took advantage.
Both fighters still throwing heavy leather. There's still plenty of pop in these punches.
And if you're Maldonado, you want to keep it in the center of the cage to prevent Cormier from trying to push. If he runs out of room to back up, that's when Cormier can strike.
Right. You can see Maldonado not bringing his feet with him as well. But you're 100% right. Maldonado wants to be in the middle of the cage working when you know Dan wants to be up against the wall in dirty boxing. That's where he's had the most success. There's a nice right hand. Both fighters landed.
Every time they get close, Cormier answers one way or another, Scott.
Well, that's the idea. I mean, Maldonado is peppering him, but when he comes inside, Dan's doing a great job of making him pay for coming in. Just
Again.
like right there. Yes, you need to get close enough to hit me in it, but I'm countering.
Right on cue, that right hook by Cormier, the second one in the last 35 seconds or so, and he catches Maldonado on the way out. Of course, the key is to follow and to keep it going, which is easier said than done against somebody like Maldonado.
Well, what we just saw in the last fight, in James Marvin fight, combinations. Throw 5, throw 6 strikes in combination. Three of them land, 2 of them land. Right now, when you're pot shotting one at a time and you're landing, great. Follow it up with something immediately.
Right, it looks great and it sounds great, but it doesn't do anything to win you the fight.
No, it's just a punch landed. You hit that combination, now you're hurting your fighter.
Just over 2 minutes to go in this third and final round.
Well, both fighters in phenomenal shape. This is a great pace for a third round. Another rear leg kick that landed by Maldonado. Both fighters exchange again. Nice outside leg kick by Dan Cormier. With under 2 minutes left, I would love to see Dan really try to push, get inside again where he's done very, very well. When he's in tight, he really makes Maldonado pay. But Maldonado is very content in staying on the outside here. Jab, outside leg, jab, rear teep, just like we saw.
If the feints aren't working, how else to get inside? Is he at some point decide he has to just shoot in and go for it?
Yeah, if the feint's on, a feint's not going to work if you haven't landed a punch. What you need to do is feint and come behind that feint. Or if you don't, otherwise, why will your opponent respect the feint if you haven't landed yet? Dan's landed plenty tonight. So throw a feint, throw a second feint, maybe a foot feint or a head feint, but come behind it with something.
One minute left. Maldonado has kept Cormier at bay for the better part of this round, with the exception of a few big right hands, which Cormier used to answer. That one blocked.
You can see with Dan's coming in with one punch, maybe 2, and then backing out. I'd really like to see him press forward here.
I agree.
I mean, he's staying definitely out of range, looking to counterpunch. Maldonado's short on his punches. That's how far back Dan Cormier is right now. Nice short left hand by Maldonado. And this is the pressing forward I would have liked to see 30 seconds ago.
You're right, maybe about 4.5 minutes too late for Cormier. And that'll do it.
Great fight.
Great action from start to finish. Both fighters spent that first round feeling each other out, and as soon as they both got comfortable, it picked up considerably in round number 2. Good round in the third for Maldonado, and that may end up being the difference in this fight. He certainly thinks so. Dan Cormier also with his hands raised, considering himself the winner. So someone's going to leave here disappointed.
That's an old boxing thing you're well aware of, Mike.
Oh, yes.
In a close fight, the second that bell rings, put your hands up. Let the judges know you think you won it. I owned it.
It almost makes you, as a judge, question whether you got it right. You would hope the judges don't get swayed by that.
If the judge didn't put pen to paper yet, maybe you get the 10-9.
They're only human, Scott. So great fight here in the flyweight division between Dan Cormier and Marvin Maldonado. It'll be interesting to see how the judges scored it. Some of those rounds and some of those spurts in those rounds were incredibly close and tough to score. Spots where there weren't a lot of action.
I have to agree.
And I agree with your premise that Cormier needed to do more. Let his hands go a little bit more. 3-4 punch combos.
It's tough being the shorter fighter, Mike. You got a double jab when you know you're short. You have to keep your distance. You got to come in off a double jab, or maybe throw an inside leg kick followed by a right hand and then work deep. It's a lot more work to cover that distance when your opponent, who's taller, is not engaging, trying to keep you at distance.
Cormier certainly landed some of the more signature blows in that third round, the ones that caught the crowd's attention. When we hear the scorecards, we'll see if it was enough in the end. It all depends, again, on the judge's preference.
How'd you score it?
I would say 2-1 Maldonado, but I reserve the right to change my mind.
Excellent.
I only have a few seconds to do so before they actually read it, but I think that's where I would lean in that direction. But again, it's such a tough fight to score, and so many parts of those rounds were a little stagnant where you didn't really know which way it might go.
Exactly.
We're going to find out shortly. And with that said, we are now going to send it down to our cage-side announcer, Rick Provost, who has the final score between Dan Cormier and Marvin Maldonado in this flyweight bout. So let's hear it from Rick Provost, the official score, and find out who won this bout here in the flyweight division.
We are ready for the decision. Judge Sanidad scores the bout 30-27. Judge Wayne Lima scores the bout 30-27. Judge Dave Torelli scores the bout 29-28. Your winner by split decision is Dan Cormier. Cormier.